Hey y'all, it's Kim from Kim Dixon Creative. Thanks for stopping by my channel. Today I'm bringing you a card for tailor-made cards for you. And this is a little bit out of my comfort zone. And one of the reasons that I so wanted to be on their design team is because it would push me out of my comfort zone. I am typically not this is not really mixed media, but it's not your typical card for me. So I'm using some digital artwork from the store called Harvest Fair, and you'll find this over at Tailor Made For You Cards. I will link it in the description box below. For right now, what you're seeing me do, I'm punching some little flowers from some paper that's in my stock. And this paper is almost a fabric-like. Don't know where it came from. It was just in my stash. It's been here for a long time. It's kind of an embossed paper, and it has a pearlescent kind of look to it. So I'm just going to make some ephemera from this paper. I wanted some little flowers, some dimensional flowers to go on my card, and so that's what I'm doing now. So I've punched these out, and I'm going to stack two together. So I'm going to offset those two little flowers so it gives them more petals, a little more dimension. And I'm just using my art glitter glue to put those together and my reverse tweezers to help me out with that. These little flowers turn out cute. You can see one that I've already done to see if it worked like I wanted it to work. I have some little gold beads, not beads, but gold gems that will go in the middle. I'm just going to take my embossing tool and roll that flower around a little bit in my hand to give it some dimension. And then I'm going to take one of the smallest sizes of these gems that I have in my stash. Again, I couldn't tell you where they came from. There's so much in my stash that I've had for years that's been gifted to me, or that was in mystery box that I bought from somewhere. I mean, seriously, I've got so much stuff. So I'm not really sure where they're from, but I'm just using my embossing tool to give the flower a little bit of dimension, and then I'm putting that gold gem in the middle of each flower for the center of the flower. And I'm using my little Marvy jewel picker to pick those up and set them down where I want them to go. And you'll see me here, not sure where my brain was, but I'm trying to use my jewel picker to give some dimension to that flower. And I could not for the life of me understand why it wasn't moving in my hand like it was supposed to. Well, duh, Kim, you're using your jewel picker. You're not using your stylus tool. But anyway, we got it like we wanted it, and got that little jewel stuck in there. Now this paper that you're seeing is part of the Harvest Fair pack that is over at the store. It's a pretty little gingham print, and it's got a little yellow in the bottom corner, a yellow flower in the bottom corner. And the beautiful thing about using these digital images is you can make this as big or as small as you want it. And what I did, I printed it out at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and now I'm deciding that I want to cut it down. I want it to be 4 by 5 1/4. Now that brown paper that you see there underneath is another piece of paper from my stash. It's also embossed and has a very antique look. And I want to layer that onto my card in some place. And so I think what I've decided to do is take this little piece, want to say that's like 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches. I'm not really sure, wide, and then I cut it down to 4, so that it would fit exactly across the front of my card base, or my card front. And I'm going to take some Vintage Photo Distress Oxide ink and go around the edges of this because, well, first of all, I'm going to ink the edges on everything on my card. But on that brown, it doesn't show as far as the cardstock is concerned, but that cardstock has a white core, and so that brown ink covered up that white core. I didn't want that to shine through and, you know, scream cut piece of cardboard or cardstock. And so now I'm going to bring in my little glass mat that I have. It's a We Are Memory Keepers glass mat, and I'm going to blend some Vintage Photo around all of the pieces that I've cut for the front of my card. That's a little guest check that looks very old and very vintagey, and it's got apples on it. And this girl picking apples is just beautiful. I mean, I want to print that out big enough to actually mat it and frame it and hang it in my home somewhere because it is absolutely gorgeous. And this is a tag that comes in the kit that you purchase. And so I'm just going over it with that Vintage Photo and, you know, making it look more aged than it really is. I don't want it to look like something that I just printed out. So I'm going to adhere that. I'm just going to kind of dry fit everything here. And I don't put things back down like I had them. I had them exactly like I wanted them, dry fitting here. But when I glue them down, I don't glue them down like I wanted them. But it still turns out really cute. So I want a little bit of that tag to show. I want the apples on that guest check to show. And then, you know, just a small amount of that brown paper to show through. So I'm going to adhere that brown piece that's from my stash just kind of across the middle of the card, maybe a little lower than middle of the card. And just get that stuck down there. And then I want that tag. I have decided that I want a piece of twine. I've just got almost everybody's got a roll of twine, but I want that piece of twine to be coming out of the top of that tag. I want the recipient to know that that's a tag back there. And it gives it another bit of dimension and texture on the card as well, to have that jute twine back there. And so I'm just going to trim off the edges and glue that straight down onto the card. Again, I'm using art glitter glue. That is the adhesive of my choice. I have used other adhesives, but the art glitter glue is my favorite. I like using wet glue. It gives you time to move things around if you don't have them quite like you want them. And so that's one of the reasons that I like using the art glitter glue. I know that in a lot of areas you can't get it when the temperatures start turning colder, but I'm fortunate enough to live very close to a great store, and I can get it. I can just drive and get the art glitter glue there, so that works out good. Now I'm going to pop my little girl up, my little apple picking girl. And if you've never seen one of my videos, what you need to know is there's almost always going to be foam tape somewhere on my card. And so I just love the dimension that foam tape gives you. It's something you don't get in a store-bought card typically, and it just, I don't know, I just love the look of that. Before I put that down though, I have a little piece of off-white lace from my stash, and I've just put that onto the front of my card in a zigzag fashion, and it's going to kind of peek out from behind my little girl. And I'm going to turn this over and use my Tim Holtz shears to just trim everything off, even with my card front, my little 4 by 5 1/4 card front, so that it fits nicely on the front of my card base. I'm just going to adhere it eventually to a your typical A2 card. I went in where I trimmed off the edges and hit that with a little bit of my vintage photo ink to make the edges match. And now I'm going to adhere my little flowers that we made earlier on down at the bottom. I'm just going to do a little trio of those flowers down at the bottom. That gives it another level of dimension and texture. You know, not only are those flowers dimensional, but the paper that I use to make the flowers is dimensional. So now I'm going to just cut my card base. This is a piece of craft cardstock, and I'm cutting it down to 4 1/4 by 11, and I will score it at 5 1/2. It's going to give me a top folding A2 size card. Again, one of my quirks, I typically like a top folding A2 card. I don't know, it's just one of my weirdies. But we're just going to adhere this card front down to our card base and just adhere it flat down. Again, using art glitter glue. Typically, if I'm not using my foam tape, I'm using art glitter glue. Those are really the only two adhesives that I use. Occasionally I will use something different, and I just think it turned out so cute. The inking on the edges, I didn't put a sentiment on the inside. I'm going to wait till I decide who's going to receive the card and before I put in a sentiment. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. I have so much enjoyed putting this card together. It's stretched me a little bit, and I look forward to doing many, many more videos and projects with Monica over at Tailor Made Cards for You. It's really pushing me, and I like that. I like to be stretched a little bit. So a little bit at the time, but stretched nonetheless. At any rate, thanks again for stopping by. If you've not subscribed to my channel, I would be so honored if you would do so. Give this video a thumbs up if it has brought value to you, and share it with your friends. Let them know that we're out here. There are other cards. This is not really a hop, but there are other projects that are being released this morning related to the fall tailor-made for you cards. No, tailor-made cards for you. I keep getting that mixed up, and I'm going to have to remember it. But anyway, if you know, if you find any others, please, I'll link some below if I have their links, and you know, go over, check them out, give them some love. You know, that's one of the main reasons we like to do videos, is we like to bring things to you, our viewers, that you enjoy and that inspire you. And the way we know that we've inspired you is by giving us a thumbs up and subscribing to our channels. Thanks again. I'm not going to ramble on anymore. Y'all have a great weekend and be blessed. Bye.